Hello, everyone. Welcome, one and all, back to Tony Sports Games for an online league season preview. This is Draft Day Sports College Football 2026 now. Our league changed to the newest version of this game over the season flip. And of course, we are in the SNCFL, the Simnation College Football League. I am here in my team dashboard of the squad that we are piloting, the SMU Mustangs. Last year was my first year in the league. It was a ton of fun. We've got a bunch of great teams available. If anyone's interested in joining, I'll link our Discord in the description. But I had a great time. We had a very successful first season in the league. We went 10-4. We were able to win the American Athletic Conference Championship. We made it to the playoffs as the final seed, the 16 seed, and as the sacrificial lamb, we fell to the number one seeded Maryland Terrapins, Darren's team, who ended up winning it all in a championship game against Stewart's UCLA Bruins. It was a busy offseason. As you can see, we were able to re-sign some staff members. I think what I'll do, let me give you an update on my team, because that's what we focused on most last year. So let's look at our recruiting and our schedule, then how we get started. We have a big game week 1 against Invisible Witness and Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. It's a little weird to be playing against them because in my Dynasty series on our channel here, we're playing as the Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. So in that series, if we can be starting the year out ranked in a few years here, that'd be great. But of course, Invisible Witness has built them up, and they're pretty good. They're very good. They made it to the second round of the playoffs last year, so we'll get to that matchup here in a little bit. But in the last episode, I know a couple things I talked about at length were, number one, still wanting to try to get a better quarterback on the roster. And we failed in that I wasn't able to recruit someone that was better overall, all-around quarterback than we already had. It looks like now Jamel Jones had a pretty good offseason. He gained a few more points in intelligence, and so he and Vernon Mole were our top quarterbacks last year. By the end of the year, Vernon Mole had actually taken the reins, but Jamel put himself back in the discussion with a good offseason, so we still have both of them. A guy I redshirted last year, Jared Ferguson, he is a balanced quarterback also. He's pretty good, and he didn't transfer, which I thought maybe he would, but he didn't, so he's back. Then in the I also redshirted this guy last year, Roy Evans. He's very accurate and very intelligent, has great intangibles, doesn't have a very good arm. So he's back. So he adds the kind of traffic jam of similarly rated players here. And then I did add a quarterback in the portal. I added this George Wynn. He's a Rutgers transfer, and he's overall 81, but I added him because I didn't have anyone that had a really big arm, and he has a really big arm. So he's also a clutch QB. He's got great intangibles. His intelligence isn't very good. It really needs some work. So, he's a redshirt freshman. Again, Evans, redshirt freshman. Wynn, redshirt freshman. Ferguson, redshirt freshman. Jones and Mole, sophomores. Our running quarterback returned, of course, Joseph Ford. So we'll be playing him some more on some options and things like that this year. But I don't know how many guys I can work into the normal game plan. I think, Jamel's going to be up there. He's the most balanced of the bunch, and, he has good leadership. But a few guys may play if we can find the right situations to get them in. But so I wasn't able with the recruiting class to, upgrade a quarterback. Now, at running back, on the other hand, I mentioned on the last episode that I thought the best player in our recruiting class was going to be this Zeke Jackson, and that's exactly how it turned out. He's he's a 3-star running back, ranked 1,000 overall, but the coach grades were right on. He's a really, really good player, and he's going to be our lead back, or one of our lead backs right away. He has elite speed and agility. He's very strong also for running back. He didn't have a great spring game performance, but we were out of town. I let a lot of backups on offense play to evaluate some guys. So, we also added Kerry Smith, who I thought would be maybe more of a power runner, and I don't know. I mean, he's got good straight line speed. He's got pretty good strength. Not very agile, but probably will get used some this year. We'll see by the end of the year if we redshirt him or not. And then we bring back 2 backs that we used a bit last year. Anthony Bowles. This was our lead running back last year. Pretty, balanced player. And then Hank Roundtree, a little more of a power back. Really good strength, pretty good agility. Not great straight line speed, but we add Zeke Jackson to the room, which upgrades the whole position quite a bit. At wide receiver, the most important piece of my offseason was, of course, hoping that Richard Runyon would come back to school for his senior season, and he did. So, no spoiler alert here. We're going to be trying to get the ball to him a lot this year. He's our best overall player. Last year, he had 85 catches for almost 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. We will try to feed him the ball as much as we can. Gregory Roca is back as well, our second leading receiver from last year. Sides and Tracy Little both played quite a bit last year, and they're back. And then we brought in 3 freshman receivers. The best of the bunch from an overall standpoint is Derek Walton. He was ranked 515. He's extremely competitive. He's extremely agile. He has pretty good speed, and the hands are decent, could use some work, but he's probably going to play some depending on injuries and the depth chart. Matthew Tyler, very good speed, pretty good hands, not very agile, so a little bit different type of player. 6'1", 187. And then the last receiver we brought in, Buster Santos, ranked 1391. Very agile, pretty good speed, decent hands. Don't know how much he'll play this year, but we got some nice players there, which is good because after this year we're going to lose both Runyon and Roca, so we'll see how that goes. The biggest disappointment with our recruiting class, and it wasn't a great recruiting class, to be quite frank with you. We got some players that can do some things well, but not a lot of immediate impact guys, which I guess to be expected with a lot of returning starters, but especially on the offensive line, I recruited 7 offensive linemen, and I needed to replace, my best overall offensive lineman, who was a tackle. And, we'll just see. If we struggle this year, it's probably going to be because our offensive line is young and some of them aren't really great. So, with 3 freshman guards, we've got one that's a good pass blocker, but he's, pretty clunky as an athlete, but he's very strong. So, that's okay. We've got one that isn't a good blocker at all yet in Hutcherson. We hope he can improve over time, but, he's not excellent at anything yet. And then Keith Payne, who, again, pass blocker, not really a very good run blocker. And we have some run blocking returning, but it's not as great as I would have hoped for. And then with tackles, we brought in 2 tackles. I did some position switch as well. So a couple guys, one guy that was a tackle that's a guard. There was a guy that was a guard that was a defensive tackle now. I'll show you him in a second. But this Dusty Lawrence was our top-rated player in the class. But as I said in the season review episode, I didn't think he was going to turn out to be the best player in the recruiting class, and that's exactly how it turned out. Now he's got decent strength and run blocking, but not an all-star by any means. And the other guy we brought in is kind of the opposite, where he's strong, he's a pretty good pass blocker, decent pass blocker, I should say, not a very good run blocker. So, those guys in the aggregate are going to have to replace our tackle we graduated, who is kind of good at both. Neither one are where I'd like them to be, but as you can see, they're probably going to both have to see the field this year. So that is just what it is. We'll try to figure out who is playing the best and play them more and more as the year goes on. But at center, don't really have any great pass blockers. The best of the bunch is this Tyrell Pinkston, who did play a lot for us last year. He allowed 4 sacks. So can he play a little better this year? I hope. I don't really have a lot in the middle there. Got a couple guys that are decent run blockers, but offensive line is going to be kind of the biggest question mark, I think, for us, especially on offense, but probably on the whole team. One big addition was in the transfer portal. That was this David Sears, a kicker who transferred from Michigan. So thank you, Stuart. He's plenty good for us. Hopefully he'll be kicking for us for the next 4 years. And then on defense, we return a couple, key players. Patrick Connor, our top overall defensive tackle. So Glenn Alvarez was recruited as a center, but he wasn't really good at blocking. So I changed him to a defensive tackle. He's big, he's very strong. He's not very skilled, but he is only a sophomore, so hopefully he can develop for us a little bit. He was actually a portal ad as well. We got him from Marshall, and I kind of knew looking at him in the portal that he was probably going to be a position switch guy because I could see that he wasn't a very good blocker. But defensive end, we have our top player from last year returning, Joseph Flowers, and then a couple guys that were on the team last year but didn't play much will probably get worked in more this year. In Benedict, Wright, possibly Jeffries as well, and maybe even more guys than that. But we had a lot of linebackers coming back. I've really got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I feel pretty good about. These last 2 guys just aren't very good tacklers, but 5 guys that we can kind of rotate around. And then corner was a big one as far as trying to replace production. We graduated our top corner from last year, Ahmad Keenan, and 2 things went really well with the corners here. First of all, Ocasio had a great camp. He was already going to be our best returning corner, but then he added some tackling, some endurance, some hands. So he had a really good camp. So he's kind of our best corner at this point. One of our freshmen we recruited, Gary Dumont, looks like he'll be pretty good for us right away. He's very, very athletic. And then the other corner that we recruited, I have a red shirt on him right now. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Maybe about 1 week. We'll see. But he's just not very strong, but pretty athletic. Hopefully he can develop into something as time goes on. But David Matheson. Then this is a player that maybe the most interesting player on my roster this year. This is Cesar Nunez. As you can see, he's got some weird ratings for a corner. That's because he once upon a time wasn't a corner. Now, I don't know who was coaching Cal in 2061. That's before I joined the league, but if it's, I don't know, if it was Stewart or Darren or somebody, if anyone wants to take credit for that in the comments, let me know. But he was recruited as a dual threat quarterback, because that's what he is. He was at Cal for 2 years. Cal switched him to wide receiver. So he was recruited as a quarterback, changed to wide receiver. He was there for 2 years, didn't really play. He transferred in the off season last year to me as a receiver. He ran the ball a couple times, didn't catch a pass. He did return some kicks for us. And then you'll see now he's a corner. So in the it shows all of it. Oh, that's kind of funny. I thought it would just show the last one, but so in the off season this year before training camps, I was looking at this player and I just didn't see him playing as a receiver, but he's a really good athlete. So I was going to change him to corner. Then I changed him back to receiver. I changed him to quarterback, thinking, well, he's faster than Ford, so maybe he'll just be my new dual threat quarterback. And then, kind of at the urging of Darren, who was like, nah, he can get enough skill to play corner. So I changed him to corner. So Cesar Nunez, in his 4th year in college football, is now on his 2nd team playing his 3rd position. He's had quite a storied run of things. He actually had a really good camp. He gained 50 in positional skill. So I think he can actually function as a corner. He cannot tackle, but he's very athletic, especially fast. Agility is so-so. He's probably going to end up playing a bit at corner, and we'll see how he does. If he's really bad, I'll probably end up taking the red shirt off Matheson, and maybe he'll change back to quarterback. I don't know. Maybe he'll change back to receiver. Maybe he'll just ride the bench. But Cesar Nunez, interesting journey for him for sure. Another position I mentioned on the season review last year was strong safety. And our starting strong safety graduated. I had recruited this guy, and I redshirted him. And I was hoping he wouldn't transfer. He does have a very low team player rating. But he didn't transfer, so now we have our strong safety for the foreseeable future. Pretty good all-around player. We'll see how he does. This will be his first year really playing. And at free safety, I had my top 2 guys returning, Adam Canada and Roger Huey. Canada will be leaving after this year, so we'll have to replace him there. So that's the team as it stands. So we've already mentioned a lot of these guys, but you see Dusty Lawrence, again, as I mentioned, not the best. We hope he can become better, but DeMont turning out as good as he did was really big for us. We did have some competition for his signature, and Hazik Jackson turning out as good as he did was really big for us too. We also had to fight off Shark for him. So, a lot of the other guys are just, we'll see. And I looked at this a little bit on the season review episode also, but if you take a look again at like the top, 20 or so recruits here, again, congrats to Stewart and the Michigan Wolverines on landing Albert London, the number 1 overall recruit in the class last year. He's a very good wide receiver, and he turned out as expected. Elite hands, elite speed, pretty much elite agility as well. Pretty good intangibles. He's going to be a really good player for a long time. And then congrats to Invisible. Visible Witness got the number 1 overall defensive player. This free safety, Brian McNeil, is a very good player also, very athletic. So big deal there. Of course, I couldn't help but notice, Darren gets 2 out of the top 3 tackles in the class last year, and I think that will be good. Now this guy's, Nick Burden, is more of a run blocker, at least right now, but then the other guy, Shane Adam, looks like he can do both. So got some help for Shaka there on the offensive line. As far as recruiting class rankings are concerned, Skeltor got the top spot with Oklahoma State, and then Shark with Georgia was number 2, Auburn for Invisible Witness number 3, Skeltor was number 4 with his 2nd team, Louisiana Monroe, Stewart at number 5 with UCLA, Oklahoma, the top CPU team, be a great team to take over if you're interested, but they were number 6 in recruiting class rankings. Matt was number 7 with Clemson. And then at 8, you had Iowa, who's now being coached by Kevin. Kevin, a new coach in the league. Kevin, Iowa, the only team in the top 10, both in overall recruiting and prestige relative recruiting. So Kevin, I think, ended up bringing in like 44 freshmen. So he's working to turn over that roster. Congrats to Kevin on his first offseason, and good luck this season. Ninth ranked recruiting class, the Michigan Wolverines. So Stewart's second team, and then 10th, Maryland Terrapins, Darren's team, the defending national champions. So congrats to everyone on their recruiting classes, and I'm sure everyone's really excited to get started for the season. Now, if you look ahead to I guess we'll do our conference first, and then we can take a look at kind of the week 1 matchups and how things are going to shake out here. So in the American Athletic Conference, we have East Carolina, CPU run, but they were second last year. They had a strong recruiting class. They're up here in the north. Cincinnati, I think, probably had the highest ranked recruiting class in the American Athletic, but they're also CPU run. So they'll be up here as well. And then Froggy took over at Central Florida, and they're going to be up here in the north as well. So it's Froggy and then really 3 pretty good CPU teams in East Carolina, Cincinnati, and Temple. So it'll be interesting to see how the North shakes out. I think South Florida and UConn will be the bottom, but anything's possible. Cincinnati last year was at the bottom, and they probably had the most talent in the league. So we'll see how that goes. In the South, it's going to be very, very interesting. You have, of course, myself with SMU as the defending AAC South champions. But as I mentioned last year, we didn't have to face Houston, who, along with Cincinnati, is the top talented, team in the conference. CPU team, they'd be a great one to take over also. But we do play Houston this year. Van is now in his second season at Memphis, but first season after a full off season. So I expect Memphis to be improved with Van at the helm. And then also Shark has taken over at Tulane. They're his new project. So just in the AAC South, we have SMU, Memphis, Tulane, all with human coaches, and Houston with a lot of talent on the team. So it's going to be a tightly contested race this year for the American Athletic, and I'm not going to make any predictions. Obviously, I hope we can defend our title in the South, but it's going to be a lot harder for us this year, as you can see with our schedule. Now, unfortunately, I don't get Van on the schedule. It just didn't work out with however the scheduling works in this game. That would be a nice addition in the future. We would love to see everyone in your division every year, but we don't get it this year. So our little homemade rivalry game will have to wait for next year. But I get Houston, who I didn't have last year. Fortunately, we get them at home. But we are at Tulane in Week 11, at East Carolina in Week 13, at Cincinnati in Week 5, home against Central Florida, home against Houston, home against Temple. So a difficult conference slate for us, other than not getting Van on there. I'm sure that would have been a big challenge. But then if you look here, Week 1, we have a big matchup for us. Fortunately, we got it at home. Thank you, Darren. But we're playing Invisible and Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. Big matchup for us. They are ranked 15th to start the season. And if we could win this game, it would be a huge feather in our cap for down the road, especially if we get to the end of the season and we have a good season, but we don't win the American Athletic South. This would be a huge win for us. Now, if we don't win this game, and it's going to be tough. I think it's winnable, but they're a good team. I mean, Invisible took them to the second round of the playoffs last year. If we don't win it, then we don't really have another non-conference game that would be a so-called feather in our cap for our playoff resume. So it's a big game. we'll see how it goes here. Now, Invisible, if you look last year, yeah, here we go. I apologize. They made it to the semifinals. Oh, I forgot that. Okay, my bad, Invisible. So they made it to the semifinals. They had a very good offense and a very good defense. Top 10 total offense. He was fourth in rushing. He passed more against human coaches, like a good human coach should. He's a little more balanced when he plays human opponents, but very good running coach, a very good running team. They have like 5 running backs that had over 100 carries last year, so it's going to be a big challenge for us, but looking forward to it. It will be week 1 will be run on Thursday, so a couple days from now by the time this video goes up. Big shout out to Invisible also. Big props to him for wanting to schedule more human opponents. We have a lot of great coaches in our league, but not a lot of coaches that were banging down our door to come play week 1 at SMU. So all credit to Invisible. I hope we come out on top, but obviously I'll be rooting for them the rest of the way, win or lose, because it will help our resume one way or the other. So that's our preview for SMU. The one other thing, of course, I want to mention, if you look here, week 1, the big matchup that everyone's going to be looking at right here, UCLA versus Auburn. I think it's number 1 versus number 4. UCLA versus Auburn. It is at Auburn, so Stewart against Invisible. That is the most notable human versus human matchup here in week 1, along with ourselves and Invisible. Also a big game for Van week 1 with Memphis as Oklahoma comes to town. They are a top 10 or so team, I think. I just looked at it. Why couldn't I remember? Oklahoma, are they not ranked? Oh, they're not ranked. Well, no, they should be. Okay. Big game for Van, though, because if you look at the Big 12, obviously it's probably Skeletor's conference to lose, but Oklahoma is going to be up there along with Iowa State as the teams to kind of try to challenge him there. Also, Maryland, week 1, Darren's title defense starts out at Miami, Florida. Top 15 team, so that will be a big matchup there. For the rest of our American Athletic brethren in week 1, I mentioned Van hosts OU. That's a big game for Van, a chance to have a nice win on his resume here at the beginning of the year. Shark starts out his coaching regime at Tulane on the road against Marshall. Number 11, Florida visits UConn, and Florida is Starfinder? Yeah, I think that's Starfinder's team. Froggy, week 1 matchup on the road at Northern Illinois. South Florida on the road at Ohio State. Good luck. Ball State visiting Houston. NC State at East Carolina. Temple on the road at Stanford. Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati. Tulsa on the road at Ohio, and then Navy on the road at San Diego State. So only one human versus human matchup for us in the AAC, but a couple big games there as you look at it. In the, let's see, American Athletic, if you look at a couple of the other top teams, Matt's going to start the year off hosting Louisiana Tech. Stewart's Duke squad, ranked 10 to start the year. Great for them. Hosting South Carolina to start the year. UCLA at Auburn, as we mentioned, the crown jewel of the week 1 games. Van's USC squad will welcome Arkansas State to town to start the year. Arkansas State, who we lost to last year in week 3, and I hold a grudge, so hope Van beats them by a million. Number 23, Washington State visits Skeletor's Louisiana Monroe squad, and we already mentioned Temple Stanford. There's the other games there. So I'll let Darren handle the rest of the league preview. He does a much better job of it than me anyway, because he knows all the teams really well. But, as far as our team goes, I think there's potential for another really good season. It's really going to come down to probably the offensive line, and do we have the best quarterback playing by the end of the year? And then can we improve the defense? Can my defensive coaching improve? Because our personnel is not too bad on that side of the ball. But I don't know. Does Invisible see us as a big game? Or do we still have some respect to earn around this league? We'll see. Hopefully we can pull it out. In any case, I will return at some point during the season for an update, maybe before the end of the year, if everyone wants to see one. But, we are marching forward in the SNCFL, trying to defend our crown in the American Athletic Conference, and trying to reach new heights as a program. So go Mustangs. As always, thanks for watching. Good luck to everyone this year, and I will see you in the next video.